Let me ask you something real quick. Have you ever looked back at a tough situation, one that had you anxious, doubting, even panicking, and realized, oh, it actually worked out? Maybe not how you expected, maybe not when you wanted, but it worked. What if you lived your present like your future self already knew the outcome was handled? Let's talk about that mindset. Let's talk about acting as if everything always works out for you, because maybe, just maybe, it does. You ever notice how your body reacts before your brain even catches up? Like you get an email that says, we need to talk, and suddenly your heart's racing, your chest gets tight, and your mind goes 100 miles an hour through every possible worst case scenario. But the email could have been about a promotion or nothing at all. Still, your nervous system, it went straight into survival mode. Why? Because it follows your lead. See, the body doesn't ask for proof. It takes instruction, and the way you think tells your body how to feel. When you constantly anticipate disappointment, disaster, rejection, your nervous system gets stuck on high alert. You start living like everything's a threat. People, plans, even opportunities, everything gets filtered through that lens of this probably won't work out. And when you're stuck there, it's hard to show up fully. You overthink every move. You second guess your words. You hold back, not because you don't care, but because your body doesn't feel safe enough to move forward. But here's the flip side. And this is where it gets powerful. When you choose to act like everything does work out for you, when you carry that calm, steady energy, your nervous system shifts, your breathing slows, your thoughts get clearer. You start engaging with the world from a place of trust, not tension. And no, that's not toxic positivity. This isn't about pretending nothing bad ever happens. It's about training your body not to panic at the first sign of uncertainty. Let me give you a real world example. You're walking into a job interview and your mind is full of, what if I mess up? What if I'm not good enough? You walk in tight, anxious, rehearsed. That energy, it fills the room. People pick up on it before you even speak. But if you walk in with the belief that this is already working out, that the outcome is handled, not because you're cocky, but because you've decided to trust the moment, your entire demeanor changes. Your shoulders relax. Your words flow more naturally. You listen better. You connect because your body isn't fighting for safety. It already feels it. And here's what most people miss acting as if isn't about faking it. It's about choosing the energy you want to live in before the evidence shows up. It's leadership. And not just out there, but in here. Your nervous system doesn't need certainty to feel safe. It needs clarity. It needs you to step in and say, we've got this. Even if we don't know how yet, that's how you regulate yourself. That's how you stay grounded when things don't go as planned. And the more you practice it, even in small ways, the more your system learns, hey, maybe we don't need to freak out every time something shifts. This is the kind of internal leadership that changes everything. You start trusting your timing. You stop needing control over every variable. You show up in rooms with presence, not pressure. And the wild part is people feel that shift in you. They respond differently because calm energy, it's magnetic and it's rare. So I want you to think about this. The next time you're about to spiral, the next time your chest tightens and your thoughts start sprinting ahead, pause just for a second and ask yourself, what if this is working out? What if I don't need to brace for impact? Because the way you treat this moment teaches your body how to treat the next one. And that changes everything. Let's clear something up real quick. Faith isn't fantasy. Acting as if everything always works out for you doesn't mean you're living in denial or ignoring hard truths. It means you're choosing to adopt a mindset that supports you through them. It's a framework, a way of relating to life that keeps you anchored, especially when things feel shaky. See, a lot of people hear the word faith and assume it's blind, like you're supposed to ignore red flags, overlook reality, or just float through life waiting for magic. That's not what this is. Real faith is active. It's a daily choice to believe that you're not alone in this, that what you're walking through has purpose, that whatever's in front of you is not the full story. It's just the current chapter. And acting as if things are working out, that's you reading that chapter with hope, not fear. It's not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about believing you're equipped to handle it. It's not about ignoring challenges. It's knowing you can rise to meet them. That shift in mindset changes the tone of how you show up. It changes how you speak, how you walk into rooms, how you respond when plans fall apart. Faith gives you a framework, a posture, not one that's rigid, but one that's rooted. Let me ask you, how many times have you already survived something you thought would break you? Think about that. You didn't have the answers. You didn't feel prepared. You were scared. And yet, here you are, still standing, maybe even stronger. That's not fantasy. That's evidence. That's your track record. And yet, every time something new shows up, we forget that. We treat it like the first storm we've ever seen. But what if you didn't? What if you actually gave yourself credit for all the storms you've already walked through? What if you use that as proof that life might just have a way of realigning, even when you can't see how? Here's the thing, when you act as if things are working out, your decisions start to reflect that belief. You stop operating from fear and start moving with clarity. You say yes to things that grow you. You set boundaries that protect you. You speak from your values instead of your wounds. That's faith in action. That's a framework not just for big life choices, but for everyday moments. You walk into the meeting not thinking, they're probably going to overlook me again, but what's mine won't miss me. You send the pitch not with desperation, but with trust, knowing that if it's aligned, it'll land. And if it doesn't, something better is coming. Not because you're owed an easy life, but because you've learned to trust the unfolding of it. And yes, sometimes you'll still get hit. Life still throws curveballs. Faith doesn't protect you from every impact, but it does help you absorb it differently. You don't spiral the same way. You don't collapse under it because you've already decided, even this will be used. Even this has something to teach me. Even this in some strange way is working for me, not just against me. And that mindset, it's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just a whisper to yourself when no one else can hear, I'm still in this. I'm not quitting on me. And that's enough. That's where the framework holds you. You don't need to know every step. You just need to walk like the ground will meet your feet. And it does. Over and over again, it does. You ever notice how life doesn't wait for you to feel ready? How things keep moving, even when you're overwhelmed, even when you're doubting, even when you're overthinking everything from every angle. That's the truth of it. Most storms pass without your permission. They show up, shake things up, and then they move on. And whether you were calm or panicked, grounded or spiraling, the storm still came and the storm still went. Now, that realization right there, that's where peace starts to grow because it means that your panic doesn't control the outcome. It means your stress, your anxiety, your what ifs, they don't actually speed anything up or prevent anything from happening. Most of the time, they just make the waiting harder. And that's what we do, right? We brace, we tense up, we hold our breath as if that somehow protects us from what's next. But it doesn't, it just exhausts us. So the question becomes, if the outcome is going to play out either way, how do you want to walk through it? Because that's the part you do get to choose. That's your power. And most of us don't realize we even have it. We think the situation has to change for us to feel peace. But really, peace comes from deciding how you'll move through the situation, not from knowing how it'll all end. Think about the last time you stayed up all night worrying. Maybe it was about a conversation you were dreading, or a bill you weren't sure how to pay, or a decision you didn't feel ready to make. You ran through every scenario in your head. Maybe you cried. Maybe you isolated. Maybe you tried to control everything around you. And then eventually the conversation happened. The bill got handled. The decision was made. And you look back and realize it, maybe not how you thought, maybe not perfectly, but it moved. And here's the wild part. You didn't need to suffer in all that silence leading up to it. You didn't need to grip so tightly. You didn't need to let the storm inside you be worse than the storm outside, because the storm was always going to pass. The question is, how did it find you when it came? That's why acting as if everything always works out isn't some delusional strategy. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about meeting reality with steadiness. You're saying to yourself, I trust that even if I don't have all the answers, I know how to stay calm while I figure it out. That kind of calm isn't weak. It's one of the strongest things you can practice. And it is a practice. Because let's be real, your first instinct might still be panic. That's human. Your body's trying to protect you. But the more you teach yourself to pause, to breathe, to zoom out and say, wait, how many times has this worked out before? The more you realize, oh, I've been here before and it passed. And so will this. Life doesn't need your panic. It just needs your presence. It needs you to stay open, to keep showing up, to stay available for solutions instead of frozen in fear. And when you carry that energy, that calm, quiet trust, people feel it. You walk into rooms differently. You lead conversations differently. You carry disappointment differently because you're not living in reaction. You're rooted. So when the next storm starts forming, and it will remind yourself, I've seen weather like this before. I've walked through rain. I've been stretched. I've been tested, and I'm still here. Not because I panicked, but because eventually I paused and I remembered that storms move, time moves, and I get to move with it, not against it. How you carry yourself through uncertainty tells the world who you believe you are before the outcome does. We get this idea sometimes that confidence is something you wait for. Like it's a feeling that just shows up one day when you've got enough experience, enough approval, enough proof. So we wait, we hold back, we play small and tell ourselves, once I feel more confident, then I'll speak up. Then I'll take the chance. Then I'll finally go for it. But here's the truth most people never tell you. Confidence isn't a feeling you wait on. It's a decision you make. You don't magically feel confident and then act bold. It actually works the other way around. You act bold and then your confidence starts to grow. It follows your decision, not the other way around. Because confidence is a behavior, not an emotion. And once you get that, it shifts the whole way you move through life. Think about someone you've seen walk into a room with quiet confidence. Not loud, not arrogant, just solid. You can feel that they're rooted. They don't have to dominate the conversation or prove anything, but their presence makes an impact. That kind of confidence isn't about being the smartest or the most experienced. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about choosing to trust yourself before the outcome shows up, choosing to show up as someone who belongs, even if your nerves are still talking in the background. And here's the thing. Most of the people you think are confident, they still have doubts. They still question themselves sometimes, but they've trained their nervous system to move forward anyway, to act as if they're qualified, as if they're capable, as if they'll figure it out. They've chosen confidence even when they didn't feel it in the moment. When you act as if everything always works out for you, confidence becomes a byproduct. You're no longer depending on perfect conditions to feel worthy. You start showing up already convinced that you'll grow through the experience, no matter what happens. So you speak without rushing. You take up space without apology. You ask for what you need without shrinking yourself. And not because you're certain of the outcome, but because you're certain of your value even before the outcome. That's where confidence is born, not from always getting it right, but from knowing you'll still be standing even if you don't. Confidence says, even if I fail, I'm still me. Even if this doesn't land, I'm still solid. That mindset builds resilience. It frees you up to take more chances, to try again, to be seen. Because when you don't tie your confidence to performance, you give yourself permission to grow. You stop waiting for evidence to believe in yourself. You just decide, today, in this moment, I'm going to carry myself like someone who's already enough. And from there, you move. You raise your hand in the meeting. You pitch the idea. You set the boundary. You make the ask. You stop over-explaining, over-apologizing, over-editing who you are. Because now you're walking with conviction instead of constantly needing confirmation. And people respond to that. They may not always agree with you. They may not always choose you, but they feel you. And that matters. Even in relationships, romantic, professional, whatever, when you operate from grounded confidence, you teach people how to treat you, not through control, but through clarity. You're no longer asking people to validate you. You're inviting them to see you. That's the difference. And let's be honest. This doesn't mean you'll never feel insecure again. This doesn't mean imposter syndrome disappears overnight, but it does mean that you no longer give those feelings the final say. They can ride in the car, but they don't get to drive. You do. So if you're waiting for the moment when confidence magically shows up, this is it. right here, right now. You choose it. You act like you're ready, even if your voice shakes. You stand up like you belong, even if your knees are knocking, because confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about deciding that fear doesn't get to run the show anymore. And the moment you choose that, everything begins to shift. People don't just hear your words, they feel your energy. Before you even open your mouth, they've already picked up on something. It's in how you walk into a room. It's in your eye contact, your posture, your presence. You teach people how to treat you, not just by what you say, but by what you carry. And when you act as if everything always works out for you, that energy teaches people something powerful. I'm not here to beg for belonging. I already belong. That doesn't mean you walk around with a chip on your shoulder or some fake sense of superiority. It means you're grounded. You're not performing. You're not auditioning for worth. You're not adjusting your tone to make other people comfortable with your presence. You're just settled. And that energy, that quiet, steady confidence, it's contagious. It gives other people permission to relax too. Most of us grew up thinking we had to earn our place, prove ourselves, impress people to be seen, to be accepted. And in doing that, we learn to lead with insecurity, to try to shift into what we thought people wanted. But when you do that, you're sending a message, I'm not enough unless you say so. And people respond to that. They start treating you like you're unsure because you are, not in your ability, maybe, but in your presence. And when your energy is shaky, you invite shaky treatment. But when you shift, when you walk into a room like life is on your side, like you're aligned, like what's meant for you is already in motion, something changes, your energy leads. People start responding to how you see yourself. And this isn't about ego, it's about alignment. You're not demanding attention, you're embodying value. You ever notice how some people barely say a word, but their presence fills a space? That's not volume. That's not charisma in the traditional sense. That's energy. That's someone who has decided, I'm enough before you even approve of me. And that tone reaches people without needing to force anything. You might not control how people feel about you, but you do influence how they experience you. And that starts with how you experience yourself. When you act as if everything always works out, your tone softens. You stop rushing. You don't chase. You become more present. And that presence makes people feel safe. They know where you stand. And that clarity makes you magnetic because people are starving for that kind of groundedness. It even shifts how you handle disrespect. When you carry that kind of inner steadiness, you don't take everything personally. You don't lash out or shrink back. You redirect, you clarify, you move on. Not from coldness, but from clarity, because you know who you are. You're not available for every argument or every misunderstanding. You're not constantly trying to prove your intentions. You're not molding yourself to avoid discomfort. You're anchored and people can feel it. That energy also sets the tone in your relationships, whether it's friendships, family, dating, or work. When you carry yourself with trust and calm, people start meeting you at that level. You show them what respect looks like by how you treat yourself. You show them what you expect by what you no longer tolerate. You don't have to over-explain. Your energy says it before you do. I trust myself. I trust life. I'm not chasing chaos. And the beautiful thing is, when you show up with that energy consistently, it starts shaping your environment. It influences the dynamics around you. It gives people a blueprint for how to interact with you. And that doesn't mean everyone will like you, but it does mean you'll attract the ones who respect you, who see you, who rise to meet the energy you bring into the room. So when you act as if everything always works out for you, you're not just helping yourself, you're